Daf Yomi, Tractate Menachot, page 50, top of the page, with the words Mikol Makom Shiva Havu. Elatanu Amlakoi, Umay Kedei Shabbos, Ushne Yomim Toivim, Shalosh Shone, Simon Ve'almo. The Gemara asks, in any case, the question stands, why does the Mishnah say 6 lambs when, in fact, the number required is 7? The Gemara answers, rather the Tana is speaking generally, referring to how many inspected lambs are required throughout the year, and what did he mean by his statement? Sufficient for Shabbat and for the 2 festival days of Rosh Hashanah. It is merely intended as a mnemonic to help one remember that there must be enough lambs for the daily offering of 3 days. Dekanami, Diktanik de Shabbos, according to this language of the Mishnah, it is also precise, as it teaches sufficient for Shabbat and for the 2 festival days of Rosh Hashanah, and it does not teach that there must be 6 lambs for Shabbat and for the 2 festival days of Rosh Hashanah, which would have indicated that these lambs are meant to actually be sacrificed on those days. The Gemara concludes that, in fact, one can learn from the language of the Mishnah that this is the correct interpretation. Lo ikrivu keves baboker v'chulei amar Rabbi Shimon v'chula ha'isakrev ben albayim she'im mechanechin es mizbach azov ela b'ktoeres asamim chinuch man nachash. The Mishnah teaches, if the priests did not sacrifice a lamb in the morning as the daily offering, nevertheless they should sacrifice a lamb in the afternoon as the daily offering. If they did not bum the half measure of incense, they bum the half measure of incense in the morning, they should burn. Not burn, not bum, it's burn. If they did not burn the half measure of incense in the morning, then they should burn the half measure in the afternoon. Rabbi Shimon said, and in such a case, the entire measure was sacrificed in the afternoon as the daily service on a new golden altar is initiated only with the burning of the incense of the spices in the afternoon, at which time they would burn a full measure. The Gemara asks, who mentioned anything about the initiation of the temple vessels? Meaning, what is its relevance to the Mishnah? Chasoy mescha v'hachiketani lo yakrivu keves baboker lo yakrivu ben albayim b'med devarim amurim shelo nitchanech hamizbeach aval nitchanech hamizbeach yakrivu ben albayim. The Gemara answers that the Mishnah is incomplete, and this is what it is teaching. If they did not sacrifice a lamb for the daily offering in the morning, they should not sacrifice a lamb in the afternoon. And in what case is this statement said? It is said in a case where the service of the new altar had not yet been initiated, since it must first be initiated with the daily offering of the morning. But if the service of the altar had already been initiated, then they should sacrifice a lamb of the daily offering in the afternoon, even though they did not sacrifice a lamb of the morning offering. Amar Rabbi Shimon emasai bizman shehayu anusin o shoygin avalim hayu mazidin lo yakrivu keves baboiker lo yakrivu ben albayim lo yaktiru toires baboiker yaktiru ben albayim. Rabbi Shimon said, when does this halacha apply? It applies at a time when the failure to sacrifice the daily morning offering was because they were prevented or sacrificing it due to circumstances beyond their control, or they failed to sacrifice it unwittingly. But if the priest acted intentionally and did not sacrifice a lamb in the morning as a daily offering, they should not sacrifice a lamb in the afternoon as the daily offering. By contrast, if they did not burn the half measure of incense in the morning, they should burn the half measure a half measure in afternoon, regardless of the circumstances. The Gemara asks, from where are these matters derived if the lamb of the daily offering of the morning was not sacrificed and the service of a new altar had not yet been initiated, then the lamb of the afternoon is also not sacrificed? The Gemara explains that it is derived, as the sages taught in the Braita, the one lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the second lamb you shall offer in the afternoon. Exodus 29:39. This verse teaches that the second lamb of the daily offering is sacrificed in the afternoon, but if it is the first one to be sacrificed, it may not be sacrificed in the afternoon. שלא נתחנך המזבח, אבל נתחנך המזבח אפילו ראשון בין הבאים. In what case is this statement made? It is said in a case where the service of the new altar had not yet been initiated, since it must first be initiated with the offering of the morning. When the verse refers to the first or second offering, it means the first or second offering ever sacrificed on the altar. But if the service of the altar had already been initiated, then even if it is the first to be sacrificed that day, it should be sacrificed in the afternoon. Amar b'Shimon emasai bizman she'anu sino shoyin aval im hayu mazidin lo ykrivu kevet b'boiker lo yakrivu ben arba'im lo yitiyu k'tayres b'boiker yaktiru ben arba'im. Rabbi Shimon said, when does this halacha apply? It applies at a time when the failure to sacrifice the daily morning offering was because they were prevented from sacrificing it due to circumstances beyond their control, or they failed to sacrifice it unwittingly. But if the priest acted intentionally and did not sacrifice a lamb in the morning as a daily offering, they should not sacrifice a lamb in the afternoon as a daily offering. By contrast, if they did not burn the half measure of incense in the morning, they should burn the half measure in the afternoon, regardless of the circumstances. Kohanim chatu mizbach batel amarava achi kamar lo yakrivu hein aval acherim yakrivu. The Gemara asks, does it make sense that because the priests sinned by intentionally failing to sacrifice the morning daily offering, the altar should be entirely idle? Rava said that this is what Rabbi Shimon is saying. They, the priests, who deliberately failed to sacrifice the morning daily offering, should sacrifice the afternoon daily offering, but other priests should sacrifice it. Lo hiktiru ketoires, ba'boiker yaktiru ben arba'im. Tekevan shelo shchicha, u'mi'atroch aviva lehu v'lo pashei. By contrast, if the priests acted intentionally and did not burn the incense in the morning, even those same priests may burn it in the afternoon. The reason for this is that since burning the incense is uncommon and causes those who do so to become wealthy. Really? The reason for this is that burning the incense is uncommon and those who do so become wealthy? By contrast, the priests, those who burn incense and causes those, it is dear to the priests, and they will not be negligent in the performance of this rite. So Ketores makes you become wealthy. I'm very into the Ketoras. Maybe I'm going to be wealthy very soon. Who knows? Amar Rabbi Shimon. וכולו היסקרבה בין הבאים שאין מחנכין אס מזבח הזוב אלא בקטורס הסמים של בין הבאים וכולי. ותניא בקטורס הסמים של שחר תנאי היא. The Mishnah teaches that if they did not burn the half measure of incense, the Mishnah teaches that if they did not burn the half measure incense in the morning, they should burn the half measure in the afternoon. Rabbi Shimon said, and in such a case, the entire measure was sacrificed in the afternoon. The reason for the difference between the daily offerings and the incense is that the daily service on a new golden altar is initiated only with the burning of the incense of the spices of the afternoon. At which time they would burn a full measure. The Gemara asks, but isn't it taught in a bride to the service of a new golden altar is initiated with the burning of the incense of the spices in the morning? The Gemara answers the question of whether the incense of the morning or the afternoon initiates the service of a new golden altar is a dispute between Tanaim. Amar Abaye Mistavra Kiman Amar Biktoras Samim Shabein Albayim Niksiv Baboker Behetivos Anerois Yaktireno. Abaye said it stands to reason that the halacha should be in accordance with the one who says that it was initiated with the incense of the spices of the afternoon, as is written with regard to the golden altar, and Aaron shall burn thereon incense of sweet spices. Every morning when he dresses the lamps, he shall burn it, and when Aaron lights the lamps at dusk, he shall burn it. A perpetual incense before the Lord throughout your generations. Exodus 37 through 8. Ilav David hadlokom yuta, David savra. The fact that ashes are removed from the lamps of the candelabrum in the morning indicates that the lamps had been lit previously, since if the priest had not performed the lighting of the lamps of the previous evening, from where would the ashes be removed in the morning? This proves that the candelabrum must have been lit for the first time in the evening, since the verse states, when Aaron lights the lamps at dusk, he shall burn it, a perpetual incense before the Lord. It must be that the incense was burned for the first time in the evening. Shel shachal goma mimisbach oilo malhalom b'tomi shel shachal avkam b'toires hasamim shel shachal. The Gemara asks, and according to the one who says that the service of a new golden altar is initiated with the burning of the incense of the spices of the morning, from where is this halacha derived? The Gemara answers, he derives it from the initiation of the altar of the burnt offering. Just as there, the service of a new altar of the burnt offering is initiated by means of the daily offering of the morning rather than the afternoon. So to hear the service of a new golden altar is initiated by means of the burning of the incense of the spices in the morning. The Mishnah teaches and use of a new table was initiated only with the arrangement of the showbread on Shabbat. The Gemara asked, what does the Mishnah mean to indicate that if the showbread was placed on the table on a weekday, it was merely that the use of a new table was not initiated, but the showbread is sanctified? The halacha is that the showbread is sanctified only when it is placed on the table on Shabbat. Hagufa kamash melon the chinuch v'kiddush shulchan m'shabbasu kediktoni seifo v'lo yasam noirel b'shiva ne'osea ben al-bayim. The Gemara answers, the Mishnah teaches us this halacha itself, that the initiation of the use of a new table and the sanctification of the showbread when it is placed on the table occur only on Shabbat. This is as the Mishnah teaches in the latter clause with regard to the initiation of the use of a new candelabrum and use of a new candelabrum was initiated only with the kindling of its 7 lamps in the afternoon. Tanu Rabbanon Zoi Ketoires Shos Liyochel HaMizbeach Achitzon V'hoireisa Shahoisa Hecha Amar Rav Papa ben Esim. The Gemara cites another halacha relating to the burning of incense. The sages taught in Braita, this is incense that was offered for individual rather than for the community on the external altar, and not on the golden altar as usual. And this was a provisional edict permitted temporarily for that time only. The Gemara clarifies, to what case is the Braita referring? Rav Papa said it is referring to the incense brought by the tribal princes at the inauguration of the tabernacle. See Numbers chapter 7. Elo yochid al mizbeach achitzoin hu de lo ho al mizbeach abnimi makre besu al mizbeach achitzoin yochid hu de lo ho tzibu makribi. The Gemara asks, but with regard to the incense of an individual, is it only on the external altar that it is not generally permitted to be burned, but an individual may sacrifice incense on the inner altar as indicated by the Braita? And furthermore, on the external altar, is it only an individual who may not sacrifice incense, but the community may sacrifice incense on the external altar? V'atanya yochol yeh yochid mitnadev umevi keyoytzi bo nidovo v'koyre ani bo moitis v'sero tishmo ve'yosiso talmud loimar loisalu olov ketoyres zo. But isn't it Tana Braita? Contrary to those two inferences, one might have thought that an individual may voluntarily donate and bring incense similar to the incense brought by the tribal princes to the temple as a gift offering. And I will read with regard to this incense, as in the case of other gift offerings, that which has gone out of your lips you shall observe and do. Deuteronomy 23:24. Therefore the verse states concerning the inner altar, you shall bring no strange incense thereon. Exodus 30 verse 9. This indicates that an individual may not sacrifice incense even on the inner altar. One might have thought that only an individual may not bring a gift of incense on the inner altar, as an individual does not bring his obligatory offering similar to this gift of incense, meaning since an individual is never obligated to sacrifice incense, he may not voluntarily sacrifice incense either. Okay, and that will conclude this Amud. Let's just continue on 50b. On the top, but a community may bring incense as a gift offering, as the community does not bring its obligatory offering similar to this, since the community is obligated to sacrifice incense. It can also voluntarily sacrifice incense. Therefore, the verse states, "You shall not bring lo ta'alu, strange incense thereon," in Exodus 30, verse 9. The fact that this is mamash our parsha, right? Mamash our parsha. Unbelievable. The fact that the verse formulates the prohibition with the plural word ta'alu indicates that even the community may not sacrifice incense as a voluntary gift offering. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll pick it up on the next video, Amud Beis. Maranatha.